Hi, my name is Jem. Welcome back to my channel. So my channel is 1 year old today. Is that in the way? Probably. As I was saying, my channel is 1 year old today, which is crazy. I don't think anyone was expecting me to actually stick it out for 365 days, let alone myself. Can't say that I've been consistent, but at least I've been persistent. So yeah, I thought I would talk about the books that I read this month because I had a wildly successful January in terms of reading. Every book that I read was wildly different from the last one that I read, but all of them just astounded me. I don't think I gave anything less than 4 stars. Actually, maybe. I'm kind of iffy. But I'm just gonna stop rambling and get straight into it. The first book I read was 13 Days by Robert Kennedy. I read this from the 2nd to the 3rd of January. I love this. I gave it 5 stars. This is a memoir from Robert Kennedy detailing the 13 days of the missile crisis in which Russia put missiles in Cuba facing towards the US. By word of detonation, these missiles could have reached Washington DC in like 21 minutes I think. This was incredible. It was heart-stopping, it was so honest and so beautifully portrayed in its like brutal honesty. I really enjoyed it. Robert Kennedy is one of my icons, my heroes. I enjoyed this so much. I just realised I'm wearing the sweater that I wore in my wait, no. Is this the sweater that I wore in my first video? I think it is. I wear this sweater a lot. The second book I read, or play that I read, was Catelyn Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams. I read this on the 9th of January. I started it and finished it on the 9th of January. I loved it, yet again. I ended up giving this 4 stars, although in my head it's probably more of a 4.25 or 4.5. I love this and I had fully anticipated on giving it a 5 stars, but I didn't for 2 reasons. The first is I'm trying to be a lot more critical with what books I give 5 stars, because in my head I'm like, Harry Potter and All the Light We Cannot See is a 5 stars, and this isn't as good as that. The second reason is there are 2 Act 3s in this book. The final act has been rewritten because the director of Catelyn Hot Tin Roof wanted a different style for the last act. So Tennessee Williams wrote a second Act 3 and they're both in here. I didn't like the second one. Actually, I thought it was quite shit and kind of undermined Maggie's character, but I still enjoyed it. This is kind of like a steamy play. It's like a sexual play. It's got Paul Newman and Elizabeth Taylor. Paul Newman? I think it's Paul Newman. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this follows Maggie and Brick, and they are at Brick's father's plantation, and Big Daddy is his father's name and he is dying, and everyone knows that Maggie and Brick are going to get the plantation, even though Gooper and May, Brick's brother and sister-in-law, probably deserve the farm a bit more. It's really good. I really did enjoy it, and I ended up reading another Tennessee Williams this month because I enjoyed it so much. This also fulfilled one of my Pulitzer Prize. This won the 1948 Pulitzer for drama. No, 1955. The 1955 Pulitzer for drama. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The next one is so horrendously beat up. I just apologize for you having to look at it. It's Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. I spilled Coke all over this and it literally got destroyed. I read this from the 11th of January to the 20th. It did take me a while to read just because this book is so heavy, and these little blue tabs are episodes as broken down in the York Notes companion, which I really enjoyed. But I read each episode about 2 or 3 times as I was reading it, just so that I was actually letting it sink in, letting it digest in my brain. But I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it a 4 stars. I thought it was incredible. For those who don't know, it's about a man called Marlowe, and it's loosely based off of Joseph Conrad himself. It's about a man called Marlowe who in 1901, I think, goes to Africa on a colonization trip. It's heart-wrenching. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Also, it reminded me a lot of Taboo, Tom Hardy's new TV show. Side note, I love Tom Hardy. I read another history this month, which is Crazy, even for me. I love history, but I generally don't read 2 in the same month, but I did. This is The True German by Werner Otto Müller-Hill. I read this from the 13th to the 21st. I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it a 3 or 4 star. I think it's somewhere in that murky 0.25 area. But this is a diary from a military judge in the Third Reich or World War II Germany, and he details this diary for his son, so that his son could look back and see that his father did not approve of the regime that he was an active component of. This is a dissident diary. Like, he said some really like dissidentive things about Hitler. It is incredible. He foreshadows the Cold War. It is mind-blowing, this. Like, you read it and you're like, how did he survive the war, basically? Because this, if anyone in the Third Reich had read one entry of this novel, they would have had his head. It is mesmerizing, basically. I think I gave it 4 stars. I'm not sure. From the 22nd of January to the 27th of January, I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. One of my goals was to read V.E. Schwab's entire catalogue this year, so I started with one of her more popular ones. I enjoyed this, but I also had a couple problems with this. Actually, I wrote down all the problems I have with this. I'll talk about what I liked first. So basically this book follows Kel, and he is a world traveller. He has the ability to jump between layers of the same world, specifically layers of different London. There's white, grey and red London, and there used to be a black one before the magic overtook it and corrupted it, basically, and the other London sealed themselves off. I loved the world. I thought it was so beautifully crafted. There was so much detail. I felt I knew enough about all of them that I felt at home in every single London. I never got confused between them. They were all so independent to one another, except they flowed very harmoniously. V.E. Schwab is incredible at world building. I also really loved Kel, and I really loved the antagonists. I thought Holland was super interesting, and Astrid and Athos Jane were incredible as well. I didn't like Lila. She's our other main character. She's from Grey London, which is kind of like the London we know. It's grey, so it's, you know, dirty and grimy, and there's no magic in Grey London. I didn't like Lila, and I wrote down why. So basically, chapter 2, she says something along the lines of, I may be a thief, but I'm not a beggar. I'm like, I would rather be a beggar than a thief. Like, I would rather come across money honestly than steal from people. And then there was this other scene where, like, she uses this magic stone to, like, bring forth an illusion of Kel, and then she makes that illusion strip down, so, like, Kel has to watch himself strip, and I'm like, low-key sexual harassment. And then she goes to Red London, and she goes to this marketplace, and she tries to steal something literally within the first 5 minutes, and then Kel, like, calls her a thief, and then she gets angry that she gets called a thief. How are you gonna get mad at being called a thief when you literally got caught being a thief? Like, and then another thing in this book that I just thought I'd point out, there is a character who runs a pawn shop of these weird magical objects, and he's a really shady character called Fletcher. Did anyone else think of Macdugnus Fletcher from Harry Potter when I said that? Like, but I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it a 4 stars. I enjoyed it. And the last book of January that I actually finished today, I read this from the 28th to the 29th of January. It is A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. This is another Pulitzer Prize winner. This one, the 1948 Pulitzer Prize for Drama. I liked this, but not as much as Catelyn Hot Tin Roof. I think I ended up giving this a 3 stars. In my head, it's probably a 3.5. This follows Blanche, and she is kind of an illustrious ranch owner's daughter who has kind of fallen from grace and goes to New Orleans to live with her sister and her Polish husband for a little bit. And Blanche and Stanley, which is the husband, clash heads, and it ends very violently. I liked this, although I didn't feel personally connected to the characters as I did on Catelyn Hot Tin Roof, And I thought Blanche was insufferable. I did not like her character. Even though Maggie from Cat on Hot Tin Roof was supposed to be an unlikable character, I still felt something for her. I felt nothing for Blanche, which is why I gave the lower rating. Although there is an essay at the back of this that I loved. Tennessee Williams interviews himself. I really liked that. So that wraps up my January wrap-up? Sure, we'll go with that. That wraps up my January wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but until next time, bye guys.